Hello everyone, this is Bijan. Here I'm continuing with this sculpture, trying to finish up David. What I ended up doing, because I had so much problem with my mesh, with all those blocking of the muscles that I didn't have a good mesh. So I've been looking around for a way to get clean, edge loops for this model, and I've tried many different ways of doing it. I even thought about going to do a retopology on this model and then, get good edge loops and what have you. As I was searching and researching to see what is available out there to use, I found a program called RapX, which kind of does what I was thinking, but first of all, they want too much money for that program. And then I thought about there is a feature in ZBrush, which is the project. You have a high resolution of your model, and then you project it into a lower resolution, get all the details on it. All I had to do is, do some remeshing and then do that. But when I went that route, I discovered that I'm having a lot of trouble getting the proper edge loops in the right places, especially around the mouth and what have you. So I finally decided to use one of the pre-made meshes in ZBrush, which is, I think it's by Nick Z. One of the meshes in there is a male model in T-pose. What I did was I appended it into my document and used that as a layer or as a subtool in there, and use the Unify in the deformation menu. I used Unify to make it this same size, and then what I did was I matched that model, that tool that Nick Z has in ZBrush. I used that as pre-made mesh with good edge loops for the model that I have. So I keep pushing and pulling on that tool until it was very close to my sculpture. Once I got to that point, I went ahead and used the subtools menu, which is project. Of course, what I did was I added subdivision to Nick's tool and brought it up to where the details from my model would be transferred to it. And I did project and got most of that stuff in there. There were some areas that I had to work on a little bit. There were some holes that I had to go and close. By the way, one thing I found out is you want to remove the mouth bag, the mouth sock, or whatever they call it. And if you have any areas that are not equal on both models, you would have problems. So you have to make sure that you remove any extra stuff that is on that the two models, so they would match. In other words, if the mouth, I had removed this mouth sock from the Nick's model, the tool, but I left it open. I left that gap open, and that caused a lot of problem. Then I had to go back there and stitch them together and close that. And then even after doing that, because there was a little extra polygons where my model didn't have, there was a bit of abnormality there that I had to go and clean. But I was able to do that, and I ended up with a good edge loop on my model after I did the project. So then I'm able now to go to the lower subdivision to going through the posing. Took the asymmetry off so I can just move the arms and legs and body and put them where it's supposed to be. And then when I need to work on some areas, I go to the higher subdivision and do some sculpting and then go back down. And I just love it. It works great. I did have difficulty with some areas that I was trying to mask and then pose. I would hide a piece and then not realize that it was of the same poly group, and I would select, for example, a finger or something, and I would work on it for 5 minutes and then go back and make everything visible, and I realized that, you know, something was out of whack, so I had to undo it and go back and correct that. Was able to get you know, somewhat posing complete, and then I realized that I saw some videos about rigging using the Z spheres. And I said, okay, maybe I should go and use the Z sphere method. You know, you go to the Z plugin and then T-Pose Master. It's in there that you go and combine all your tools and then select the rigging and click the rigging and then go there and get a Z sphere and create a skeleton, armature inside, and then bind it and do that. I spent a lot of time doing that. At the end, when I was finished and I was trying to move the you know, fingers, mostly I was trying to use that for the fingers because I was already finished with the body really, and I had difficulty with the fingers. So when I did that and finished the rigging, it was very slow. I would move a Z sphere to get it to, you know, pose the mesh, and it would take forever. There was a huge lag. And so I, you know, pretty much did the fingers a little bit. I said, well, I'm going to go back to it and then just use the masking to finish it up, and left it at that point. You know, I'm sure that, you know, that method of using the rigging with the Z sphere is a good one, but I don't know if you need a lot of power in your computer to do that. I mean, my computer isn't that low power computer. And I know 32 gig of RAM isn't very much, but I've heard some people have like 128 gig of RAM in their system. But apparently you need a lot of power to do that. I mean, you can do it, but it's very slow. There's a huge lag. You move it and you don't know how much you're supposed to move because there's a lag, and then you would go past the area that you wanted, then you have to back out. And so I gave up on that one. I'm going to just use the masking and do that. Especially now that I have a lower resolution mesh, I can, you know, go down the resolution to where it's very rough like that, and then I can just pose it, and then it's easy to clean it and move the vertices around if it gets really out of whack, and then go back up and do a little bit of sculpting and clean it, or what have you, polish it. So that's where I am. I mean, the project isn't finished yet, but I went ahead and did some posing. I still need to work on the fingers and the pose. Still needs some refining and what have you, and then do some more sculpting and make the body more David style, because right now it's got a lot of my extra muscles and bulge and thing that needs to be softened up a little bit, because David's statue doesn't have very pronounced muscles, so that needs to be smoothed out and work on it. So that's all I wanted to say. Enjoy the rest of the video, and cheers.